Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to acknowledge our Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Jackie Bray, who you'll be hearing from. Sheikh Musa has joined us. We'll be hearing from him momentarily. Eric Goldstein from the UJA Federation as well. And I also want to welcome all of you. Across our state, New Yorkers are afraid. My number one priority has been and will continue to be protecting the safety of our residents. We have a 4-pillar plan. It's comprehensive and it's far-reaching.
So let's not wait any longer. Here they are with the Ministry of Truth, the Thought Police, the whole shebang-a-bang. She's laying it out for us as clear as day. So let's dive in.
First of all, we're strengthening physical security of locations. We're also making the digital world safer by identifying credible online threats. And we're also calling out social media companies who have failed their responsibility to create a safe public square and creating resources and toolkits for parents and schools alike.
In other words, more surveillance apparatuses such as surveillance cameras in the light posts, drones, R2 NYPD2s, infringing further upon our online privacy rights, and last but certainly not least, an infringement of our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. That's what she's saying. All I'm doing is translating her new speak into real speech. Unbelievable.
First, let me share how we've already taken action to protect our vulnerable communities safe.
Please.
And to protect physical security. 2 weeks ago, I told New Yorkers we were activating law enforcement to protect them.
But yesterday, Mayor Adams said he's cutting the budget by 13%, pretty much dwindling the NYPD numbers roughly from the 33,000 that we have to like below 30,000, somewhere around like 30,400, maybe even under 29,000. So you know.
We mobilized state police to protect at-risk sites. We established a hate and bias reporting hotline. We made $50 million available for local law enforcement, $25 million to protect vulnerable locations. We also encourage the use and understanding of our red flag laws to ensure that guns don't get into the hate-filled hands of individuals looking to do harm to others. That's just the start.
That's just the start. She's not lying about that. She has a lot more tyrannical communist policies tucked away in a demonic altar or a binder somewhere, that she's dying, longing to impose upon you and me, because that's what they do for our benefit, because they care about us. That's right. They care about us.
Let's talk today about what we're trying to do to make the digital world safer. We know that social media is an emotion amplifier. If the emotion is love, and that's amplified, that is a good dynamic. If the emotion is hate, and that's amplified, that's the chaos that we're falling into today. It can also amplify the hate that just boils up from this toxic stew of ignorance, and it becomes festered online. So we're creating strategies, first time ever, to help identify hate at the source and prevent crimes before they occur.
How are you going to prevent crime before it occurs? You can't. And that isn't what she's trying to do. What she's trying to do is silence the town square and strip the people of their First Amendment right to freedom of speech. That's what you're doing, Governor Hochul. That is what you're doing.
As I've often said, I'd rather be in the business of preventing crimes than solving them. And that's where our threat assessment and management teams come in, the TAM teams. This is an initiative I actually launched over a year and a half ago in the aftermath of the Buffalo massacre when a racist
Let me just point this out right away, because what's the matter with this woman? That she can't speak correctly. She's constantly slurring. I mean, I understand that what's happening is that she's reading off the teleprompter because she doesn't care about any of this stuff for real. She can't commit it to memory. She must read it. And then she's constantly slurring. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to point that out because it just bothers the bejesus out of me. That's all. I'll continue.
after a racist shooting by a white supremacist who targeted 10 of my neighbors. That's when we activated more surveillance of credible threats for harm.
So you made it a personal issue because they targeted your neighbor? Not because you care about your constituents, the people who voted you in, us, the citizens of New York State? Okay.
Online. They work to track and stop violent acts of hate before they happen. And today I'm announcing $3 million, an additional investment to ensure that every single college campus now has these on the state of New York, in the state of New York. So let me be clear. These teams are working to identify violent threats. They're not looking at your Instagram sunset post or your tweets about your favorite football team. And they're not here to penalize anyone for their political views.
No, you're not going to be looking through our Instagram. No, you aren't going to be looking at our Twitter. No, you aren't going to be doing any of this, right? Right. No. You're only going to demand that the owners of these social media platforms comply with your invasion of their customers' privacy, which they will absolutely conform to and execute for you, as they've already done in the past. No, my dear. What you're doing is lying to all of us right now, to our face, with zero regard for our constitutionally protected rights. That is exactly what you're going to do. How are you going to acquire the information that you're looking for if you're not looking through the people's accounts? With magic? Perhaps, demons do possess special gifts, special abilities, so there is that. There's that. Yeah.
They have a simple goal: to find out what's driving hateful behavior and intervene early before harm is done. And to give people who are being radicalized online an off-ramp. They work with mental health professionals, establish reporting systems, so classmates and others can raise red flags and train adults how to spot the warning signs.
This is monstrous. This is evil. Turning neighbor against neighbor, poisoning our children's minds, trying to set them against one another. But aside from all that, though, it's just flat out communism. You're gonna monitor what the people who elected you are saying? And if you determine that you or a board that you approve of to determine whether what we're saying is appropriate or not, is appropriate speech, who the hell are you? The people need to be afraid of you. Gubernatorial impeachment, that's what I say. That's what's needed here. That's what needs to happen. Ridiculous.
We're not preventing anyone from exercising their First Amendment rights to speak. We're not preventing anyone's right to peacefully assemble. We're not blocking anyone from expressing opposition or support for political or military action in the Middle East. That's what we're not doing. But we're not tolerating the spread of hate. That's the difference. And the final component of our efforts centers around empowering educators and parents about the power of these radicalization efforts and how to take steps toward de-radicalization, to dial down the temperature, to bring back some sense of calm and normalcy that seems to be so evasive these days. Let's start with our schools. Today I'm directing the Director of Division of Homeland Security and and Emergency Services to develop media literacy tools for K through 12 in our public schools. This will teach students and even teachers to help understand how to spot conspiracy theories and misinformation, disinformation, and online hate. Start talking about what we're seeing out there. Give the teachers the tools they need to help these conversations in school.
First and foremost, why are you even bringing this into the school setting? Second, who determines what's a conspiracy theory? Who determines what's hateful speech? Media Matters? You? Or an unnecessary agency that you create? What you should be focused on is giving our teachers the tools that they need to properly educate our children. So that perhaps they can, read beyond a 4th grade reading level. So they can actually perform mathematics correctly. What you're proposing to do is indoctrinate our children with whatever ideals you want to poison their minds with. This is what you want to do. This is what you would like.
But we are sending letters to TikTok, to X, Twitter, to Google, and to Meta, Facebook and Instagram today. We're telling them that they pledged to do this, but they're not adhering to what they've said they would do. They say they're monitoring for hate speech. And we would say, I have instances where you are not being successful. So ramp up the number of people who are in charge of monitoring if that's a failure. Because if
you heard what she said, right? They pledged to do this. Just remember that she said that about the social media platforms.
My state police can find it, if a college student can find it, then clearly the people you have hired by your company should be able to identify it and take it down immediately.
So like I said earlier, she will use her power to obligate these companies to cater to her demands. She's telling you, and she's telling you that they already told her that they're willing to be in compliance with her demands. Oh, my Lord. Or, should I say requests instead of demands? Maybe. Let's continue.
Kevin, go ahead.
Governor, beyond sending the letter, what are the tools you're prepared to use to actually get action from social media
I
executives?
love this.
Well, we have a lot of people, I think you're starting to see some of the influence of advertising. Mm-hmm. You saw what happened when there was an outcry for the release of the dissemination of the Osama bin Laden letter. Mm-hmm. So advertisers, corporations who advertise on these platforms have an enormous amount of power. Elon Musk feeling the pressure of advertisers when he tried to walk back what he said, but the damage was done. So I think that I can continue to work with not just the social media companies, but you hit them where it hurts, advertising. And that's another area we're going to focus on. But I'm willing to have the conversation. They can try to prove to me they're doing more, and I'm going to show them where they're failing. And if they're genuine in their interests, to make sure that their platforms are not hijacked by violent extremists, and to bring it back to the original purpose, which is a way for young people to communicate and share ideas. The premise is not to share hate.
Hijacked by violent extremists. You see that, right? Notice she only called out Elon Musk and Twitter, who is actually the only social media platform that actually is allowing free speech, at least to a certain degree. Also, for the record, that letter from Osama bin Laden was found on the Guardian's website, okay? And they had it up for the last 10 years. It wasn't until young people found it and read it and then voiced their opinions about it on social media and their thoughts about it that it became a concern. And now, here she is telling you how she plans to use the power of advertising to spread what? Propaganda. That's what she means. That's how she plans on helping remedy this situation. You think she thinks? No. You think what she thinks or else. That's it. You think what she thinks or else. And you think what she thinks and how she thinks or else.
Acknowledge that we're living now in a heightened threat environment.
Yes, I have. We are.
Right environment.
We are, no doubt about it.
Something.
And we'd be naive to think that the war in the Middle East does not have the possibility to bleed over into other states, particularly New York. We have been, targeted in the past. Yet we are very prepared. We are always vigilant.
The war in the Middle East isn't trickling into the states in the U.S. People are just concerned when a potential genocide could be occurring. That is all. Why don't you help quell some of those concerns, and perhaps people wouldn't take to the streets and protest? Try that.
Always monitoring, and there are certainly always threats that are being thwarted, and I think there's an awareness that we are watching. We are aware.
You know what us New Yorkers are aware of? We are aware that you are fear-mongering and the Uniparty is warmongering. That's what we know, that's what we see, and that's what needs to be acknowledged.
Governor Hochul, this is a Marcia Kramer question, so bear with me as I read this. Yesterday, you said your new budget would include more migrant aid for the city, but we got a new memo from the city budget director saying the state told the city it's going to limit its assistance for targeted aid for job placement, case management, no more money for housing. It's forcing the city to cut the migrant budget by 20%. Are you worried this will mean migrants will have no choice but to live on the street?
But did you see how she kind of excused herself before she even asked the question, the reporter? Why is that? This is how you know that this is all, it's all crap. This is all just, let's just continue. I'm just letting you know what you already know.
What I want to point out is that in our budget, this past budget that we're living in now, I work with the legislature to allocate $1 billion to help with the migrant crisis. We have stepped up. The costs are higher than anticipated. We are prepared to increase that to $2 billion. But it's a reimbursement situation where the city is supposed to show us what they spent and draw down from that money. I think they've only drawn down about $250 million, but I will possibly stand corrected. We can get that confirmed, about $250 million of the total that we're prepared to spend for them.
She's been spewing the same nonsense now for months. You don't know whether the city is using money that you allocated for the migrant crisis towards the migrant crisis? Why don't you know that? Why is it a reimbursement arrangement as well? It's absurd. So there you have it. If after watching this video, after you with your own eyes watching and with your own ears listening to this rhetoric, you choose to believe that these people have our best interests in mind, then you are sadly mistaken. Okay? Our constitutional rights are being stripped away from us bit by bit, piece by piece, And I feel that we as a community are just sitting idly by and allowing it to happen. I can't stress that enough. I urge everyone to please start paying attention to what they say and do, because they aren't even being coy about it anymore. They are implementing their newspeak each and every day. They use it all the time. Thoroughly training us and our children to not believe our eyes, not believe our ears, not believe our God-given instincts. When something feels morally wrong, it's because it is. It's because it is. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Well, that's it for today, my brothers and sisters. Please, if you found this helpful and informative, please share it. Help spread the word. Also, help out the channel by giving the video a thumbs up, and most importantly, if you have not done so, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel so you can stay in the loop and informed as I will be bringing you this content daily. Thank you, everybody. One.